All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say. Because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line. Today's guest, if you're from New Jersey, if you're in New Jersey, if you're in the real estate space, if you're in the marketing space, digital marketing, if you're in the advertising space, you know my guest. You've come across his stuff, right? You've seen him around. With the drones in the air, you've seen him, right? If you're in New Jersey, you know this guy. Today's guest, Roger Chino Cordoba, better known as Chino, all right? Now, Chino here is busy, and the fact that he could take the time, and when I say busy, I mean this is a parallel entrepreneur. I've been watching his progression, his transition, all throughout this pandemic. I'll give you just a little background. Chino was originally a cold call. Saw his profile on Facebook, and I said, yo, I got to get to know this guy, right? Because I saw what he was doing. So I said, I got to get to know him. So I gave him a call. I said, hey, this is Jacques, Dennis Development. Do you have some time to talk about productivity and performance coaching? He says, you know what? That sounds interesting. Tell me a little bit more. So I start telling him a little bit more. We start talking, right? He says, right now is not good. I've got a couple of things going on, but it does sound like something that's going to be interesting that I would want to get into because I love to meet new people. And it sounds like, a lot of people I know can use what you're doing. So I want to connect you with some people. When are you going to be around? There's a networking event coming up and I want to invite you to it. And I said, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. Because that was the whole idea of the call, right? Just to get, an idea of who he is, what he does, and try to really see if he is who he says he is on social media and can we connect. So the first thing he did was he wanted me to connect to other people. He wanted to connect me with other people. And I said, wow, I want to meet this guy. And then we got hit with the pandemic, right? We got hit with the pandemic, and then we just been, talking online and following each other online. And I got to tell you that your content, Chino, is so inspiring because it's real, it's authentic, it's real time. I feel like I'm a part of your life. You know what I mean? And I'm so happy that you could take the time. How you been, man? How are things going for you out in this world?
I mean, man, you said it best. It was just like a whirlwind, tornado of opportunities since we met. Because it's funny, it's so surreal that we're in this meeting right now, and this is how it started.
Yeah.
And then from then till now, finally, I was like, you know what? I reached out to you. I was like, man, we gotta close the loop, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to be on the show. I've been watching you as well. Tremendous growth on your end, which I'm very proud of. And definitely I read through all your stuff. I take the time to take that. It's very valuable. And I think we did have that conversation about value. You stuck to it.
Yeah. Wow. It's like the more people I think, like us, like you and I, that we connect and we can start talking and we can start making things happen together. I think the more we're going to see more progression and more growth in our communities. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's like for me, at the end of the day, it's like you've got so many layers to what you're doing, Chino. There's so many layers, and I kind of want to get into that, right? Like I want to get into like how you even find time, because the more I talk to people, the more I realize that the biggest problem that they have is organization and time management. Absolutely. So I think that's a good way for us to start. Like how do you tell me how you get through your day? Like how do you start your day, and then how do you make sure that nothing bumps into each other, right? That you make sure that all your businesses are still siloed and still working, you know what I mean? Without them crashing into each other.
Man, Google Calendar, brother. Google Calendar is the truth.
Yeah.
It all started with basically breaking the habit, right? That was the one thing. We're creatures of habit. Mindset is a huge component in my life. So I have a lot of discipline, and it starts with in the morning, praying, meditating, being grateful, and then exercising, drinking the water. Everything has its own place.
Right.
Robert Kiyosaki, all those books that I've read, all of them have disciplines, and they stick to them. I think without it, you live a life that's very there's no planning, and then you don't know what the end result is going to be.
Right.
And most people always do the opposite. They do stuff that they don't want to do what's uncomfortable for them. Waking up at 6:30, working out, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Do it anyway because the end result is what's actually pushing me forward, is giving me the energy, is giving, releasing those endorphins, things of that nature.
Right.
So I adhere to that. And my mindset, self-preservation, is the end result of all of that. So I really stick to that. Try as much as I could is to eat clean, be mentally, spiritually, okay, all that. Try to get that into a symbiotic balance.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, multiple businesses. I don't do everything myself anymore.
Right.
I wanted to wear all the hats. Chino Designs, which I'm sure we'll talk about,
Yep.
is pretty much. It's funny because I opened up the graphics folder to see how much jobs I did. I only did 4 jobs this year.
Really?
I went from about 600, 700, 1,000 graphics to 4, 5.
Wow.
So I don't delegate this stuff. So the thing with millionaires and the people who are successful, they
Right.
just leverage other people's time.
There it is.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
Put the right people on the bus. I give them recognition.
Yeah.
And I only take a piece out of that. And I'm getting more volume, and that business is making me money,
Yeah.
but giving me back the most important thing, time.
Time. Yeah, let's go into that, man. That's what I think a lot of what, conversations that I have with small business owners, entrepreneurs is how do I recapture more of my time, right? How do I recapture more of my time? And, I thought when I first started watching a lot of your content, in the beginning, I thought you were a control freak, right? Because I'm like, how does he manage all of this stuff? He's got to be in control, and he doesn't seem like he's affected by it because you were doing videos, a lot of videos, and then I think you started doing the drones started going up, and I started seeing a lot of that. But then you also started doing the workouts with your wife,
Right.
and I was like, okay, now he's letting us into his personal life here, because what you did was amazing for me, because I was like, you took your garage and then you turn your garage into a studio,
Yep.
and a lot of people don't show that side of it. A lot of people would show like the end product, right? Okay, I have a studio here. But what I like what you did, because you took us on the journey, right? So it was like kind of you started virtually sold, right? And virtually sold it looked to me like it came from Chino Designs.
Yes.
Is that right? Is that fair?
It was Chino Designs, and I had to switch it to Chino Marketing.
Okay, let's go into that, right? Because that's where I think a lot of people get, and that's where I kind of got lost in your journey that you were taking me on. I was like, wait, is this the same thing, or is this like a part of it? Is this like an arm of
Right.
Chino Design, right? So let's talk about Chino Design first, right? How did you start Chino Design, and then what made you realize that you had to like grow it and scale it?
Right. So Chino Designs was after college, which was around 2002, 2004 when I graduated, which thank God I graduated with honors at a 3.4 GPA.
Nice.
My dad was telling me, nah, you're gonna drop out, you're gonna be a bum, and that gave me the fuel to I literally came out with honors.
Wow.
I got a perfect attendance award. And you're talking about a kid that lives in the hood in Yonkers,
Yeah.
right? Having to take the train to Catherine Gibbs in the city, okay, and then not skip a beat.
Right.
So I came up with Designs, but in the long run, I was doing graphics,
Yeah.
doing a lot of print work. I made a lot of money with print work, brochures, business cards. At the time, print assets were something of value back then.
Right. What year are we talking about, Chino? What year?
In the 2000s,
Okay, early 2000s.
early 2000s, yeah. So
Right.
up until that point. So when you're saying kind of lost track, is because right pre-COVID was where Chino Designs and Chino Marketing was being launched. Chino Marketing was being launched because I had to separate it. One, because it's New York City. I don't live in New York City.
Right.
I live in Jersey.
Right.
So I wanted to capture more audiences and be more broad.
Gotcha.
Right. Chino Designs is kind of like I'm tethered underneath the graphic aspect. They don't know I do video. They don't know I do marketing in
Right.
general.
Right.
So I was kind of just like caught in that little niche. Even though I was still getting work, it was confusing to my audience. So
Yeah.
in between then, I had a conundrum where I was like, okay, COVID hit, and doing these virtual tours was pretty lucrative, but I had to take a step back and look into social trends. And shout out to my buddy Dustin. It was just one of those nights where we kind of had a one-on-one.
Yeah.
And
Shout out to Dustin.
yeah, Dustin. And we looked up the trend words, and virtual house tours was like the number one thing. And I said, yeah, I had some other names and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then virtually sold was just, man, that was just a beautiful word.
Yeah.
It just at the crossroads, it just met. You know what I mean? And then pre-COVID, I launched it. I went all in. And shout out to Anthony. Anthony, we did, which is the singing realtor.
Yeah, Anthony. Yeah.
He's my business partner.
Right.
And, you know, how it took off was I saw the great in him.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, you know, we spoke about the music video. I come from a long laundry list of platinum artists that I've, you know, Fat Joe, DITC, Rick Ross, DJ Khaled. I filmed them all.
Wow.
And I didn't want to get back into that.
Yeah.
I said, yo, a music video of the journey of buying a home. That's a pattern stopper. So when we filmed it, he was a little reluctant. He was in his shell. You know,
Was he really? Okay.
You gotta give it to me, bro. I was like, you gotta give it to me. You know, authenticity, man.
Right.
Part of dancing and spinning and having a good time.
Right.
That video went viral. And when that went viral, everybody wanted more. What are you doing?
Yep.
Da, da, da. And then that's when I made sure that I took Virtually Sold, the concept that is very basic, and turned it into something that I made it, we told a story of each house. Each story has its own spirit. It has its own, it pretty much has its own story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So we approached every house with care. And that was the main thing that we wanted to do. We just didn't want to cut, paste, and da-da-da-da. And once again, the same structure that I had in my life, I put the structure in the business.
Love it.
That's why you sometimes on your end, you say, man, how does it do it? Fine, Drones, I could literally, and this is the funny part, I'm going to film something, but I don't want to devalue what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I could literally film a house, do photos, drone footage, and everything within like an hour.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
Most dudes can't do that, but it's because of the structure.
All right. We've got a couple of things here, man, because it's like, just to dig into your mind and look at the method to the madness that you call Virtually Sold, right? Chino Designs, right? You were able to differentiate between branding and marketing.
Yes.
Right? And those are $2 billion industries, I'd say.
Yes.
Right? Then you also have media, right?
Yes.
And so that is another $1 billion industry. You've got three $1 billion industries that you're playing within right there, right? So most people, I'd say, would just stay in one wheelhouse. You know what I mean? Either the branding or the marketing. You know what I mean? What you were able to do is like just extend one into the other, right?
Yes.
But then you didn't lose value. It seems like you didn't lose the value. You actually doubled down on making sure you provided more value, right? So I like that you said that you know, you're telling Anthony to bring that, you know, that authenticity, just come out of his shell a bit. And I seen the guy sing on social, and I'm like, wow, like, right?
Yeah.
He's a whole different person when he starts singing. And just to watch that, I think, you know, a lot of people are afraid to come out of their shell. So what I watch you do also is I watch you coach a lot of people when you're putting together the footage and you're helping them, you know, say their lines or articulate what they do, right?
Yes.
Now, talk to me a little bit about that, right? Because Chino Designs, you could be somebody who's just kind of like, okay, I'm an expert marketer, right? Or I'm expert branding, you know what I mean? And it can be like, well, it's all
self-proclaimed.
Right? And it could be like, you know what? You're the realtor. You should know your product. You should know what you're selling. I shouldn't have to. What makes you want to get into their world and help and coach them through it, right? So that they can, you know, what makes you want to do that?
Right. So that's another deep conversation, and I'm going to try to like boil it down.
Yeah.
The first thing is that I think we got to echo there.
Not on my side, but go ahead.
Yeah. So my entire process, the foundation is you create value content, you build relationships, and you fortify trust. And trust drives revenue.
Love it. Yeah.
Okay. In the real estate business, word of mouth is by far the most prominent lead generation process.
Yep.
So when I took a look at that and I said, why is that? How can I digitize that?
Mm-hmm.
And it can only start with the person, because people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Yep.
Okay. Now, COVID hits. You have no choice but to do it virtually.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Now you're competing virtually.
Yep.
Okay, you're not face to face no more.
Mm-hmm.
The person who you are, right? You have to come out of your shell. Now it's a non-negotiable.
Right.
You're like, damn, So when I realized that, I made a point to, when I work with someone, that I help them realize what's happening on a physiological level.
Love it.
Why they're fearful.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes one session, just shooting, 2 or 3, and before you know it, they're like soaring.
Yeah.
It's just self-realization. And the process of basically, you're already speaking to people as an expert, but this time the camera's pointing at you.
Yeah.
Okay? That camera is no different than the person you're showing the house to.
Yeah.
The open house, whatever the case may be. And when they see that, when they realize that,
yeah,
because sometimes in your head you're like, oh, I want my hair to look good.
Right.
I'm in the right outfit.
Right.
What do I do with my hand?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So they freeze up like deer in headlights. And I'm like, well, what do you do when you normally speak to somebody, a prospect? They're like, just talk.
Yeah.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
So it's all fearfulness, the unknown, and when I get them to the point where they're validated, nothing happens to them.
Yeah.
And they get used to it.
Right.
That's when they have that milestone. They have a breakthrough.
Love it.
And that could happen literally right on the spot in the session. Just shout out to Mike. I don't know how to say his last name. Galicia. Very nervous. And one take. Okay, I had them repeat the same thing over and over on the intro.
Yeah.
And the outro. I told them, sell it to me.
Yeah.
Look at me. Look at me. Don't
Love
look
it.
at the camera. Look at me.
Love it.
Something happens there. Now they're not looking into a glass lens.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking right at me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I got the money in my pocket to buy this house. Mm-hmm. 30,000 over asking. Sell it to me. That's what I say. So that changes the whole.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, hi, my name is Mike from Remax.
Love it.
Welcome to Broadway, and then they just get right into their zone.
Love
Maybe
that.
take 3 or 4 swings, but they already have it. God already gave them their purpose. It's already innate.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a matter of them realizing it, getting them out of that fearful state of mind, which I call flight or fight.
Uh-huh.
And then have that physiological change where they're relaxed.
Yeah.
And they're just doing exactly what they do every day.
Yeah. You know what's amazing about you, Chino, man? I got to tell you, right? Because a lot of people, and this is you're stepping into my world now, right? With the coaching side, you know what I mean? And I think what I realize is it doesn't matter how many houses I sell, doesn't matter how many clients I sign up. At the end of the day, it's that relationship, that intuitive connection that you're able to build, that you're able to connect with people. You know what I mean? I think you do that like too easily. It's too easy for you. It's like second nature for you. It's because you're so real. You know what I mean? It's because you're such a real person. You're like easy to understand. You're easy to talk to, right? And I think, so I give out a DISC assessment, right? And the DISC assessment usually helps people identify their natural behavioral style and their ideal adaptive behavioral style. And I think what happens when you say a lot of people get stuck behind the, like a deer in the headlights, behind looking at that glass, they're not looking at you, they go into that adaptive style. This is how I'm supposed to act in front of a camera. I've never been in front of a camera before. I'm kind of scared. And they go into that shell. But then when they look at you, you're so natural in what you're doing, the way you're doing it, and making it realistic. You're like, no, I got 30,000 over asking my pocket. Sell me this house, right? Yeah. They're like, oh, okay, click. And then they just transition. You do that so naturally, you do that so well, right? It makes me, and I love to get into this part of it when it comes to like people like you, right? People who are like, you know what? I want to recapture time because it's about the intangibles, right? The unquantifiables, right? It's about the things that we can't see that helps us get closer to our fulfillment that we look for. You know what I mean? And for you, it's about recapturing that time, connecting with people, adding the value, being yourself, being natural,
Right.
right? I wonder, right, when you think about, little Chino grew up in Yonkers, you know what I mean? Looking at maybe your parents, looking at your grandparents, looking at little Chino, what do you think? Is little Chino still like happy, feeling excited about the drones fly? Because I look at you doing it, I'm like, he's like a kid. He's like a kid. He's like a kid with the drones in the air. You know what I mean? Like, talk to me about how you grew up and if little Chino was like happy with what you're doing now.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really cool that you asked that because a lot of people, forget who they are, right? I think it's very important for us to still have um, that kid inside of you,
Yeah.
because we kind of conform to the world and the things that we love growing up.
Yeah.
I grew up in School Street, DMX's old block, um, single child, no brothers or sisters, no family.
Right.
Family's in Colombia. I'm Colombian
Wow.
speaking. My dad lived with us up to a certain point, and he got into a fight with some guy, and the landlord had him out of the house. So, alcoholic father. My mom was depressed and things of that nature. So, as an only child, I had a lot of friends. Okay, I was really mechanically inclined. I used to fix everybody's mongooses and their bikes. I had tools.
Nice.
Into comic books. My parents worked really hard to put me through Catholic school. And basically, I loved what every other kid loved, but I did love marketing more than anything.
Yeah.
And the first time, it's a funny story because how I got into marketing was the old school X-ray glasses advertising, and it had the naked, like not a naked lady, but it had like the chick with the she had regular clothes on, and then an illustration on the other side. So my little pervert in me, I'm like, getting this, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I used to work with my dad, your typical Latino like job with your parents. Used to clean banks.
Okay.
Landscape. It's 5 a.m. So I busted my ass with my father.
How old? How old are we talking? How old are we?
And 5 years old, bro.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Back then there was no laws, man. Like
Yeah, child labor.
Child labor, baby. So,
Word.
So I saw that ad, and then I saved up money. I ordered it. When I got it, it was like these paper glasses. They were huge.
Okay.
And in the middle, they had a feather inside of it that made things look like weird, but obviously X-ray. So I was like, damn. I was always intrigued and pissed at the same time because I was like, I got my money, and I was like, that was brilliant. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was always captivated by. I used to collect, car magazines, and I used to love the pictures and the copy. Typography was my thing.
Wow.
They could, and I was really intrigued by that. And I was always a nerd. I would take watches apart. It was super nerd. Remember, I was buying my stuff. I had a So the same things that I loved back then. I kept a lot of my toys. I still have a lot of my toys. Transformers, old die-cast stuff. I still have my original comic books. And in all reality, that the stuff that I wanted then, I lived in probably like a 325 square foot apartment. My mother was a hoarder. It was horrible.
Yeah.
I used to gaze out the window and say, one day I'm gonna have my boy and my girl, beautiful wife and a house.
How old were you when you made that declaration right there?
It was young, man. It was about 6, 7 years old.
That's amazing, man. Yeah.
So, because I used to have Park Hill I had friends up there, and they were like predominantly white. And I used to go to their house, and I used to sleep over, and it was like I never wanted to go home because it was just so dreary to go back to the house. The bathroom had mold in it. There was roaches everywhere. And my mom we were clean people, but it was just the other apartments. People were people with like mental disabilities. There were crackheads. There were broken blocks downstairs, gunshots. So I had to grow up in that and keep myself happy, aligned with everything. I had the Encyclopedia Britannica books. I love, like National Geographic. And to this day, I share that with my kids now.
Wow.
I achieved everything that I dreamt of, but I still don't want to stop there. And I still retain I'm still young at heart.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. I can tell. I can tell because I'm the same way, right? So it takes one to know one, right? And I'm
Yeah, I
like,
see the anime in the background. I know.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's Goku and Dragon Ball Z. I'm into the anime. You know, when my son was born, I was like, oh, somebody I could share these things with because at the end of the day, I didn't have. I grew up with my brother and my sister, but then we grew up, and like you said, conformity is a thing, right? You kind of like you got to figure out where you fit in, and sometimes you don't fit in, and you wind
Right.
up standing out like a sore thumb. And you know, it took me some time to me to realize that outstanding is a good thing. It's when you
Yes.
use it as an adjective, it empowers you as an individual to be outstanding. So you don't have to
Right.
be part of the collective. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think when I started to realize myself that how, you know, I stood out wherever I went, like I had a little afro, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
grew
Yeah.
from like, you know, Haitian parents, you tuck your shirt in and you get, even if you wear jeans, you still tuck your shirt in and you wear
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
dress shoes. Now it's like swag, it's like business cash, but back then you get laughed at, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Trust me,
always,
I was going to school and I was overweight.
yeah,
Just if anybody's watching this, let's picture this together, right? After school, I didn't have a book bag. I didn't have those cool book bags that had graphics on it, all pockets. They
yeah.
gave you medicine bag with your name on it, the
Wow.
big St. Mary's sign on it, with the name plate on it.
Yeah.
And my parents bought me remember the triple fat goose?
Oh, I love my triple fat goose. Yeah.
Yeah, you love yours. So they gave me a trench.
Oh.
And I was fat. So so I looked like the Liberty Bell. I looked like the Liberty Bell, like a silhouette of the Liberty Bell rolling down the block.
Oh, that's good.
Bad.
That's good. That's good.
I was different because I like hip hop.
Yeah.
I was a metalhead. So my hair was long. So
Oh,
a draped over trench coat,
yeah.
long hair, fat
What
with
was
the medicine bag.
Wow.
It was a target. I was
Yeah.
just a moving target, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like it, man. Were you like dealing with bullies a lot or no?
Nah, man, I was just getting beat up all the time. That's like,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
because I'm in the hood.
Right, right.
So I had to walk through the hood to school. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but after a while, what happened was that I made so many friends. I fixed their bike, trading comics, and then it was like I stood out, but it was like that's the cool kid. He's
Yeah.
cool. Leave him alone, man. Leave him alone. He's cool.
Yeah. You see, so you've always had the ability to connect with people, man. Like that's not something, you know. And this is an ongoing conversation, a debate where it's kind of like, you know, is that something that's taught or is that something that's like innate? You know what I mean? And I think that,
I think because of my situation,
uh huh,
and it was predominantly black in my community.
mm-hmm.
I was the only Colombian in probably a 200 miles radius.
Yeah,
And like you said, I was you back then.
mm-hmm.
You know, super stood out. You know, tie and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I stood out. It was
Yeah.
somebody. So I think it was adapting. And then to this day, you know, adapt and conquer, baby. You
Yep.
know,
That's your
So-
mantra.
that was, I fell into it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had to survive. And that was a way of surviving. I had to adapt. So I could walk down a block and talk to a business owner. But then again, if I'm walking by a bunch of kids that's in the hood, you know what I'm saying? I'll stop by and just drop a flow, freestyle.
Yeah.
Yo, that kid is mad cool, you know?
Yeah.
And just keep moving. So I had to do that in order to survive and not get beat up.
Right. Yo, so that's real, right? It's kind of like you figured out how to just adjust, adapt, and conquer, and that's still your mantra today. Like I see that you'll say that every now and then. You'll drop it,
I joke
adapt
around.
and
I'm
conquer.
like, I'm a civilized thug.
Yeah, yeah. You had no choice, right, but to become civilized, right?
Yeah,
I think-
behaviors and stuff like that is taught.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was a form of adapting. It's just like in nature, right? You have things that kind of like on a totem pole, they don't adapt, but there's another word for it. But you know, it's kind of like the apex predators and the ones on the bottom. They just stay in that category.
Yeah.
Adapted to a being
Yeah.
to be able to adapt to my environment.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too about what you're talking about is that you also put up a post one time about, and you went through and I was like, yo, you need to do more of that because there's so many people that are, you know, still going through the struggle in the hood. So you went back to your old block and then you did like a video and you showed where you were living, you showed where you were sleeping, you showed where you came out of. And I said, there's nobody else doing this on social. Like nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is showing what, because most people, two things are either they have shame behind where they came from because they have a new following now, they have a new set of friends now, a new network now, so they don't want to show that side of themselves. And then you've got some people who are still there, and so what there is, they're real. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh no, this is real. I'm real, and they just don't want to leave that neighborhood. They don't want to do. You went back and you showed that side. What was going through your mind when you did that, and who were you trying to reach when you did that?
There's a couple of things. It's just a combination of I do have footage of a walkthrough in my own apartment. I found it.
Wow.
So I've been wanting to either, because I rap, so I wanted to do a song or a commercial, but then it's like I was just like, screw it, I'm just gonna shoot this, and it's exactly what you said. To let people know who I am. I don't sugarcoat things. So a lot of people that they're not who they are now than who they were. I'm still that guy. You know what I'm saying? But the only things that changed, obviously, is my financial literacy, and then I'm trying to get those people out.
Yeah.
And not only that, even people who are out but just confused, and you can have a business right now and just be stuck.
Right.
The main goal is just to pay it forward because I've been so blessed. And I never thought, I do, like you say, some things you can't see tangibly, but I can smell it. My accurate legend, I could feel the wind and everything. When I had a shift in Colorado, I imagined me filming it, and I imagined the car turning on. It was so vivid that I make things happen through like energy and pulling it through. So I think with that was kind of just like, I like seeing myself in the hood and then seeing myself now, and it's just fulfilling for me. But then I see that it was well received and everybody is more comfortable around me, and they're like, man,
right.
I didn't know this and that, and man, I came from that too, bro, and I built more relationships because of it.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me is that you keep a lot of those relationships too. Like you're still in touch with a lot of people, right? And you put that up on your social also. You haven't lost those connections, right? Talk to me about adjustments, man. So like when you had to, start talking to realtors and you had to start going to places, because you're not just filming, properties in like Jersey City or like in the hoods. You're all over. You're going from very high end properties, $1 million properties, right, into very affluent neighborhoods, which means you're dealing with a whole different demographic, right? And then you're coming all the way down to, more blue collar neighborhoods where we'll call them hood, but these are hardworking people. You know what I mean? So talk to me about that adjustment for you to be able to adjust, your language, your mindset to be able to serve those people in those communities, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I have to say, I have to give a shout out to Nara to Westchester. That was definitely a catalyst for me, because I got the education that I needed, and I had to get peered into the real estate market and the whole intention of home ownership. So me being part of that board and launching that chapter, and giving them the power of the marketing and everything that I was able to bring to the table, we helped them get to number one, at the number one chapter, which catapulted me into even more stuff, where I started working with corporate, and now I sit on that board and union. And what that helped me do is networking is definitely the catalyst. I would have to say that, because once you start surrounding yourself with the people who you want to work with, and the people who you want to aspire to be with, you start not only gaining the relationship, but you're also fine-tuning the vernacular that you need to be able to communicate. Communication is huge. And sometimes a lot of people drop the ball when they can't communicate. Communication is essential. And once again, pretty much unconsciously, my communication becomes very, very efficient. So, like you said, I would speak differently to somebody who's in Patterson than somebody who's, maybe in, Cranford, Westfield, or things of that nature. I'm able to, because I forcibly surround myself with those people, and I adapt. Once again, the adaption goes in there, and I fine tune it. Where it used to be like, hey, Chino, I want to book you for a listing, da da da, and it would be these huge paragraphs.
Right.
And then lost it. Now it's just like, 1, 2, 3. Okay,
Straight to it.
This and that. What? Because they want all the answers. They had so many objections.
Yeah.
Like, I can close them on a text or whatever, and they feel good about it. They feel like, I don't have to worry about it. And I can speak to anyone. It doesn't matter. You could put me in a boardroom. You could put me, do a pitch with, a pitch deck to millionaires, or I could be in the hood talking to your corner store bodega guy.
Yeah.
At the same time, It's like
Yeah. I went to school with a kid named Chino. He was he was Puerto Rican actually, right? And we called him Chino. His real name was Xavier. And I think what made me feel good about Chino was that I didn't speak Spanish, but a lot of my friends were Spanish, Dominican, Colombian, Puerto Rican, you name it, right? It's New York, right? So Chino was an ESL student, right? So a lot of the ESL kids, they used to have these bad tempers, man. It's like, don't try to punk me because I don't speak English. I can fight, right?
Yeah.
And what made us feel comfortable around Chino, because, back then we had the Haitian boat people too. So you had Haitians coming into the country and they were like, stigmatized and made fun of or whatever. I had a temper. I would fight. And me and Chino, sometimes we'd fight the same people, right? But what was really comfortable about Chino was his name. And, he didn't like, don't call me Xavier, right? Because some people would like mispronounce it or whatever, right? Yeah. And so he'd be like, Chino, just call me Chino, bro. Chino, you know what I mean? So I see that you stood out to me because you're like, your name is Roger, right? And it's like, you don't go by Roger at all. Like, all your content.
Some people do. Some people feel comfortable calling me Roger.
Is that right?
It's all preference.
Okay, but I think with Chino is like, yo, this guy is direct. He's like, I can feel comfortable with him. He's from the golf course to the couch, bro. Like, that's a regular dude right there. I don't have to like try to figure him out. He's very straightforward, and I think your name opens a lot of doors, like Chino. And I want to kind of, why don't you?
It's good because I got the wild card. Because sometimes if you're trying to get like in a VIP in a cigar place that's white. I'll throw the Roger in it.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you that, right? I was like, which one do you go by more? Like, and depending on the circle that you're around, do you use Roger a lot, or is it usually just Chino?
It's all preference. I noticed that people, when they see my name on Facebook, and obviously they see the Roger first, they're more like they're more inclined to call me Roger. Then I have people that, once again, if we're dealing with some $1 million deals or something like that, they'll introduce me as Roger.
Okay.
It's weird. It's
right.
Weird. Once again, it's society kind of like, okay, looking at these two names here, which one sounds clean?
Right.
Chino is just like, it could, but now it's a little bit more acceptable. Like, Chino is cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's Chino over there. So it's not too much. But I do have a couple of friends that prefer the Roger.
Gotcha.
If they're speaking to a different client. And then I introduce myself as Chino. They get confused and they're like,
right.
You could just call me whatever you're comfortable with, I said, when you meet me, I think you'll call me Chino because I look like it. When I wrote it, I tell people, I'm like, I used to have blind dates.
Okay.
And a lot of them got turned down because they were like, well, my boy Roger's coming. They're like, Roger,
Yeah.
You automatically you pick a picture of somebody with a pocket protector. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I roll up.
Yeah.
Like a rock.
Yeah. Let's talk about you rolling up, man. Let's talk about you rolling up. Tell me about the Alpina. So the Alpina, that's a beautiful vehicle, Chino. Beautiful vehicle. And what's crazy to me is, which is not crazy like it's a bad thing, or it's just a beautiful thing to me. I say crazy in a good way, right? We're going through a pandemic. You are renovating your garage. You're talking about from like basic, okay? I saw you level the ground. I saw you, do everything, put the equipment in there. You did everything. And you flying these drones in the air, and then you come out with the Alpina. Most people are in a state of contraction. When we started talking in the very beginning, we were talking about, more people going into contraction. You did the complete opposite. You invested fully in yourself, fully in your garage. I think all the money coming in was just like, you could see what you're doing, and you could see your progression and your growth. You could just see it, right? And it's kind of like, boom, here comes an Alpina. What just happened? Where did the Alpina come from?
Well, I pretty much had all my life, thank God, like I've always had nice cars. That's just my thing. From a young age, I caddied. I actually caddied for Trump.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah, back in the day. So I always had really good job. Good job. I was actually caddying. I was getting paid more than my parents.
Wow.
But my first, I had my first car was like a Nissan Sentra, and then I went all out. Just got Legend. When it first came out.
Yeah.
And then continuously I had Beamers and stuff like that. But I had a span where I haven't had any vehicle. For some nice vehicles. I had an Altima, and then pretty much it got totaled out, and I was pretty much carless. And then I said, you know what, man? I've been eyeing that Alpina for a very, very long time, and I wanted some other cars too, but they were just not practical for me. In a sense where they were like a coupe with a lot of rear wheel drive and whatnot. So I was like, the Alpina it basically embodied who I am. Like the Alpina, for those who don't know what Alpina is basically a separate wing of BMW. They're their own people. They build race cars for BMW. They pretty much develop carburetors, suspension for these races. They have racing heritage, whatever. So they take the whole shell of a BMW and they build it from the ground up. So this car is no different. They only make 1,400 of them, and I always liked cars that were unique.
Yeah.
Just like me. Yeah. So the car pretty much resembles who I am.
Yeah.
It's got the brute strength. It's very innovative. The technology in it was the first of its time. I mean, that car came out. It was $144,000.
Let me cut you off right there. Right when that car came out, that was the Maybach of the of the BMW when that car came out.
Exactly.
Right, and I think that's the value that people are not associating with the Alpina. The Alpina it's one of those luxury sedans that's just for a certain class of people. That are making money within a certain income bracket. That was the Maybach of the BMW at that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a statement. So they devalue a lot. And the only reason a lot of people don't buy these cars is they're high mileage. And people frown upon that and they see it as a risk. This car came from California. I had it pre-scale inspection, which it was in mint condition. It had its little things that needed to get fixed. I've been buying and selling cars since 15 years old.
Wow.
So I knew what I was getting into. And I wasn't going to buy a Lamborghini or something, which I could have at the time.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I made some money in crypto. And when you make money in crypto, you get hit with the capital gains. But if you buy something that's depreciated, you balance it out. And it was right before the year was ending. And I had expenses that I needed. It's either I take that money, give it to the government, or buy something and put it on my expenses for my business.
Love it. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And I pulled the trigger. I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Now I got a super sedan, almost 600 horsepower, twin turbo, like sitting on the couch. There's only 1,400 made, and it's going up in value. So,
nice.
And I love. You see how the car is. And I can just look at it, and it embodies. It makes me feel good because it's like I needed to get something that pump up my spirits.
Yeah.
And keep me grinding even harder.
Yeah. Yo, so it's like, it's crazy, Chino. It's like, so you get haters out there, right? It was like, oh, there's a pandemic. They're waiting for their stimulus checks and whatever the story is. Listen, whatever the story is, each person, they're in their own, nobody really knows. You know what I mean? And I'm nobody to judge, right? But you get some people out there that are like, oh, look, he's flossing. He bought a car. It's that and the third. And they're hating, right? Hard flex, low key flex, whatever you want to call it. I think what I've started to realize over the years is the people that have endured the most stress, the most setbacks, they've endured it. They didn't give up. These things are like trophies. You know what I mean? Yeah. Your Alpina is like a trophy. You know what I mean? Right. And I think the other thing that I think a lot of people miss is, like you said, you made money off of crypto, right? you had to balance it out. You had to put money into your expense column. You had to put something into your expense column. This is not something you went and you started making money and you're like, oh, let me go buy an Alpina. No, you made sure everything, made sense. And so I think that's what a lot of people miss, and that's why they become haters. So I just, because you're in a position to educate people around this, right? First of all, with the crypto, and then understanding that, if you buy something that's depreciating, then you get around two things. Both of those things are associated around risk. One, buying the Alpina, right? Right. Two, being able to say ahead of time, if I make this purchase, I can eliminate future debt. Right? Yes. How did you get that foresight? What happened? What made you see that?
Well, it was obviously sitting on a lot of crypto, and then the taxes looming, and knowing that I made X amount of money, and I was going to owe X amount of money. So it's a very simple equation, right? So if you make $100 grand, you're going to owe X amount of money, whether it's 15 grand, 20 grand. Why give that money to the government when you can buy something? Doesn't matter what it is as long as it's a business expense, and then now you have something to show for it, and then write it off.
Yeah. So
that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
It wasn't something where I'm like telling my wife, it's good. I'm trying to find out an excuse. It just fiscally, it made sense.
Right.
And at the right time. And especially, I needed it for my soul, man, because I love cars.
Right.
And it once again, a lot of people, they do, let's look at a hater, right? The meaning of the hater, unfortunately, those are the people that the only reason that they don't like you is because you possess something that they don't have.
Right.
So the only way that they can cope with that is by saying, oh, look at this guy.
Right.
You see that I posted up that I want everybody to win. I just don't have that hater DNA strand.
Yeah. Because
I've already had that milestone where my brain is on a totally different level. Because everybody could win. People don't get that because they have self-limiting beliefs. So that's the only reason that they hate. I don't really hate on nobody. I was even hating on people with Dogecoin.
Right.
And you know what? I swallowed my pride and I put it up there.
Right.
Because now you got kids that are millionaires.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could have been one of them, but I was hating.
You were hating. Every time you hate, it comes back to bite you. Yeah.
Hard pill to swallow, bro.
Yeah.
Because I could have executed a $2,000 bill, would have been $500,000. But whatever.
Wow. Yeah. You're feeling that one right now, right? You're kicking yourself. Yeah. So
I
mean,
that's essentially it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then you don't. The way you're talking about it is like you just familiar with risk. You have no problem taking the risk. Like you're in the crypto space, also. That's very high risk, right? So what's your risk tolerance like? Like how do you deal with that? You have a family, you have 2 beautiful children, you have a wife, you have a home now. You just bought your home, right?
There's a cardinal rule, right? Don't bet what you're not willing to lose.
Love that.
Okay, so if you're putting $1,000 in there. Your mortgage is due or your rent is due. I don't think that's a good idea. So just stay away from that. And then I don't take this advice. Now I am. It's basically buy and hold. You never lose unless you sell. Okay, so it could be a drought for a year.
Yeah.
But that next year in a month, everything goes crazy, and it could be life changing. Yeah. So if you're holding on to maybe $1,000 worth of crypto, that could just moon and just go crazy for you. So it's a risk. It's no different than gambling. But once again, gamblers go out and they spend their rent.
Gotcha.
Not a good choice. But it's just that's the cardinal rule. I would not risk something that is necessary for that you're gonna need.
Yeah, you're amazing, man. That's a good way to think about it. I love that cardinal rule. So okay, Chino, there's also like you're a car head. So you just got I saw you got the Acura, right? Like the Acledge, right? And your daily car is like a Ford, right?
I got the Ford Explorer. Yeah.
You got the Ford Explorer. So
2007.
2007, like a regular guy, right? It's like that car could take a beating at the end of the day, right? But then what's going on with these with the cars now. I think is that something that you're doing? Like this is fulfilled because you said I got to get the Alpino. It's good for my soul. So when you say soul to me, I'm like, okay, he's in pursuit of fulfillment. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So it's kind of
yeah.
like talk to me about that. Is the car thing something for your soul? Is that like fulfillment for you, or helping people kind of part of fulfillment? What does fulfillment mean to you?
I mean, in the car aspect, I love engineering. I love technology. Remember, I'm a designer at heart. But these cars started off as a sketch at one point.
Okay.
To see them and to drive them and feel the road, I really appreciate that. That's just something that a car guy is going to relate to. And with the legend is nostalgic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Legend itself had a very, I'm very emotionally attached to the legend, being that that was once again like the Lamborghini of the hood.
Right.
At that age, 17, 18 years old, going down the block in a Lambo.
You were the man if you had a ledge.
This day, man, people just know what's up with that car.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I crashed it. I got it fixed, and then, shortly after, I had the head gasket issue, and I always regretted selling the car. It beat me down up until obviously I vowed. I said, you know what, man, when I make some money, buy it again. And I located one in Colorado, and had a pre-sale inspection on it.
Yeah.
And the owner of the dealership, he's about 55 years old. I got a phone call. He's like, hey, this is I have a beautiful legend here in front of me.
Yeah.
I have a report for you. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the owner of the Acura dealership. Blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
He's like, I sold this car 30 years ago. He's like, I've owned 40 legends. So I'm just like, chills.
Yeah.
So you have any
Right.
good news for me? He was like, this car is pristine.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, you definitely found, you made a good choice. And, it has its things and stuff like that. And that's it. I had it shipped over. And it's probably one of the most happiest day. I mean, I teared up. I did a video live.
Yeah, I saw that one.
I sat in the car, was like literally stopping
Wow.
because it was just like, wow. It was surreal to be sitting in the legend in front of my house, in front of my empire,
Yeah.
built. And to this day, I will never forget that. And it's not the end. That there's other things that I want to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Soon my next thing is to meet Raekwon Chef.
Nice.
Get my sweater. I have a Snoopy that I wore back in the days, and I'm buying a new one, and I'm gonna have him sign it.
Wow.
And I want to take that picture on my old block.
Nice.
Recreate the old picture with the legend, full circle of the culmination of all the work and the stuff that you've been applauding me for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fulfillment. It's just full circle, realizing those dreams have materialized, and all the hard work, tears, sicknesses, everything in between is worth it.
It's all worth it. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's inspiring, man. I got to tell you, like what I do, the work that I do, I'm constantly looking for inspiration. I'm pulling it from everywhere. You know what I mean? So for me to see that, I think for you, you're inspiring people on so many different levels. You're talking about, kids trying to figure it out, adults that are starting over, your father, which is an amazing thing. So you're playing so many different roles, you know what I mean? Fathers who are still trying to figure out how to split their time between their, providing and being present, right? I see you put pictures up of your son also like on, doing social, doing media work. You know what I mean? I say that's
I'm actually
huge.
on his laptop.
Yeah. And I look at that and I say, yeah, you're inspiring people on so many different levels and you're probably not even seeing, it's not all the way intentional. It's kind of like, this is what I like to do. Right. Let me ask you a question. If you're not doing, virtually sold, if you're not chasing cars, right? If you're not chasing your fulfillment, what fulfills you, right? How does it make you feel, right? Does it make you feel like you could do more? Does it make you feel inadequate? Like, how does it make you feel if you're not pursuing fulfillment?
It's not always fulfillment. I think now that I've gotten to this point, I've had a realization. There's no inadequacies right now. I think right now what's more important to me is that I realize that my life has a shelf life. And, maybe I don't want to talk in a morbid
Yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah,
But I think I mentioned this to a couple people, and that in itself is like, dude, what you said to me,
yeah.
I pop up in the morning now. So when I realized this, thing,
Mm-hmm.
44 years old, and I'm looking at, let's say 75. My dad's 85.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's say, listen, hard work, good 10 years.
Yeah.
I pictured my life like this. I have a certain amount of life to live,
Yeah.
right? And I'm gonna read something to you really quickly.
Yeah.
This is Rich Dad Poor Dad. This is a crazy realization, which two other people, I posted this up. Two other people had it blew their mind. And you're talking about people who have everything. Their fulfillment
Yeah.
is where I want to be,
Yeah.
and they were like blown away. So Rich Dad once said, "Rich is measured in dollars. Richness is measured in dollars. Wealth is measured in time." We're coming back to time. For example, most people think 1 million is rich, but if expenses are 100K a month, wealthy is only 10 months. How long can you survive without?
Dang. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how much time you have. My main goal is to live more and work less.
Love it. Yeah.
That is my main goal.
Yeah.
Because society kind of programs you that you have to work 65 years to enjoy 10,
Right.
if that.
Right.
I want to crack the code where I'm doing it now,
Yeah.
where I'm getting the chills from that.
Yeah.
So when I posted that up, I had two guys. One of them never missed a day of work in his life. He told me, he was like, "What am I doing?"
Yeah.
Realization. Another guy, multiple properties, investor, everything. And he was like, "Man, you blew my mind with this." I mean, this guy, he's like, "I got Ferraris, I got this, and I don't even drive it."
Yeah. Wow.
And
Yeah.
he's like, and time, I think, is the most valuable thing.
Yeah.
Watching the sunrise, I like to just chill with my dog, sip coffee,
Yeah.
just absolutely nothing.
Right.
Or maybe just get up and have the liberty to say, "Let's go to Key West," like we just did.
Nice.
And not have to work 3 or 4 months and just do absolutely nothing and still be able to pay everything off
Yeah.
and have freedom. I think time and freedom for me is by far the most where my fulfillment sits and lies. And inadequate, what was the word?
Inadequate?
Inadequate, yeah. Would be the totally opposite.
Sure. Sure.
Will be not having to cherry pick who I want to work with. An employer telling me what to do, when I can eat, when I can go on vacation, okay? Things of that nature. That's inadequate for me. I like freedom and time. That's where I want to be. I think everybody has the ability to get to that point if they build those assets, those compounding assets over time.
Yeah. I love that you referenced Kiyosaki. I love that you put it in perspective like that, because that's like a wake up call. You know what I mean? And just watching you on social, you would think the average person looking would think, "Yo, this guy's just running around doing all kinds of things," right? That's they put that, they call it like, multiple streams of income, MSI, right? But, they can even call it parallel entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, great. But he's got a purpose. He's driven, he's on a mission, and he knows exactly what he's doing. It's very methodical, right? And I think about when John D. Rockefeller, Bezos, Elon Musk, what's his name? Bill Gates, none of these guys are even as rich as John D. Rockefeller was. If you take that money from then and you put it today. And I think what he realized later on, after building his empire, he went on the run because they're trying to demonopolize him. But I think what he realized, what you just touched on, is he was not able to spend time with his grandkids.
Crazy.
And it was him being able to spend time with his grandkids, the idea that he was going to be able to spend time with his grandkids, that brought him back, to reality. And I see that a lot in guys like you, that it doesn't really matter, what you're going to have to go through, as long as the carrot at the end of it is worth it for you, right? And I see that in your content.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. I think the scariest thing for me is regret.
Mm-hmm.
And I think up to this point, listen, I work from home. My kids don't know what it is to have a babysitter.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay.
amazing. Yeah.
We lay down with them every night.
Mm-hmm.
We're always there for them. This is something that I always wanted for myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm God knows what the percentage is of how many people go to work every day and have to leave their kids alone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that. You know, so that's what I strive for. I'm deep into family, you know,
Yeah.
and just that time is super valuable to me, super
Yeah.
valuable. And you just gave a great analogy of it doesn't matter how much you're rich. Rockefeller got to the point of regret,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't go back, you can't rewind, you know, and it's very unfortunate, and I don't want people to fall into that trap.
Right. Right. That's amazing, man. So okay, so you're flying drones, you're doing the cars, you're doing you're doing everything. It's fun to watch, right? And I know you're busy, you got a lot going on, but you have your hands, and I got to get your opinion about this, right? You have your hands in multiple different areas, right? That a lot of people want to, they're struggling in right now. And I think if you could just give me something that people can take with them, right? In terms of, I think it's more about personal development. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So there's like a takeaway, an anchor that somebody can use, and it's like maybe a word, a sentence that keeps you, and it's something that a child can even use, right?
Right.
What would that be for you? Like just to keep people getting up in the morning, like you said, somebody saw your post and they're like, oh, this, got me up. What's that anchor?
I actually posted up a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, what you don't change, you choose.
Well, you don't
What
change, you choose.
Don't change, you choose.
Mm-hmm.
Most people want to be something,
Mm-hmm.
but they are afraid to change who they are to become that.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a metamorphosis,
Yeah.
right? The struggle
Mm-hmm.
is what they don't see, like you said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace the struggle, feel the fear, and do it anyway.
Nice.
And it's very important to get the discipline in place.
Yeah. Love that, man. Love that. Okay. Real quick, we're going to play a quick game. Hands down the lightning round. All right.
All right.
I'm going to ask you 3 topics. If you don't like the topic, go ahead and say pass, right? But the idea here is for you to give me your bottom line about these 3 topics. And you don't have to keep it short. Just tell me what you think, all right? First topic. Bill Gates is getting divorced from Melinda. What is your bottom line about that?
Reason being, it's micro and it's soft.
It's micro and it's soft? Okay, I don't know.
Never know.
Yeah, okay. It seems to be like a trend, right? Because then, Bezos did it. And then you got Bill Gates doing it. So it's kind of like, what's going on there?
With that, man.
Nobody knows, right?
It is a trend. It is a trend.
Yeah, it's definitely a trend. Okay.
There's something got to be behind it. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy. I am a conspiracy theorist, but nowadays you get persecuted for anything you say.
Yeah. So my whole thing with that is like, don't be number 4, right? Don't be number 4. If you're number 4, you're probably gonna get left, right?
Right.
Just kidding around. All right. Second topic. You're into the cryptocurrency space right now. So, cryptocurrency or the stock market?
I think both of them have their benefits.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, if you're going to invest in something, make sure it has a utility. Meaning, utility means if it's usable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and also if it's going to be usable and mass adopted. You have to look at what's called the white papers, and stocks is the same. Everything has its own purpose, utility, and usage. If it's something very innovative, then I have to go all in. It doesn't matter if it's stocks or not. Definitely emerging markets is something you want to be invested in.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Emerging markets, something you want to be invested in. And the last topic, real quick, Chino, I've been following you, so I know you got Chino Eats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're big on that. I see that. You're big into food and good food too, quality food, healthy options. Okay, what do you recommend for? I guess you're in a rush, busy day. You got a lot going on. A lot of times, time to sit down and eat. What's a quick grab and go?
A quick grab and go. I would definitely do some type of multivitamin. We live in a world where over farming is just something of the norm. Food is just nutrition deficient. So anything that's cruciferous, that has a lot of nutrients, whether it's a shake, superfood, definitely want to load that your body up in that because it's just essential.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Very nice.
But eats in essence is like I'm a foodie. I go to all these places. I always wanted to do the videos and stuff like that, but I just got too much on my hands. But
Yeah.
so I'll just hashtag it. And what's weird is that it's like 2 or 3, 4 bloggers that took eats after that. When you go in there, there's a lot of other stuff in there. I don't know where they are, but
Wow.
it's funny. I'm in restaurants and people know me as Eats.
Huh.
My kids are like, "Who's that?"
Right.
I was the power of the internet, bro.
Yeah. Celebrity blogger, right? They don't even
Yeah.
know. Yeah. All right. And finally, Chino, your bottom line, right? What is your bottom line? That reoccurring truth for you that no matter what, you wake up, this is the truth that serves as rocket fuel to propel you forward. What is your bottom line?
Yeah, the bottom line is shelf life. Every living moment, take advantage of it, realize your purpose, and never falter. Look in the mirror and realize that that's your only competition. I think that's super important because most of the time we let outside forces dictate our future, and you should look yourself in the mirror and make sure that your vision is the only vision for your path.
Amen. I hear that, man. I hear that. That's good stuff. Chino, where do people find you, man?
So you guys could follow me on Facebook, which is Roger Chino Cordoba.
Yep.
You could do the Instagram, which is Chino Designs NYC, Virtually Spoke NJ, and Chino Marketing.
Yep. If you're a realtor, you're looking for exclusive virtual tours, Chino's your guy, right? Listen, I know people in Brooklyn that could use your service. I know they're not flying drones, but you've got a unique touch in the way that you display the properties, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're a realtor across the New Jersey, New York, reach out to Chino, okay? Also, big shout out to Anthony, the singing realtor. Love watching you guys work together. Chino, thanks for taking the time. This was amazing. Run this back a few times, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to everything Chino says. He's dropping gems and jewels all over the place. This was the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line.
Peace out.
Peace out.